देखिए लालचंद, ये जो दौरा है प्रधानमंत्री का, ये अपने आप में कई मायनों में खास है। सबसे पहले तो ये कि 9 साल का जो कंप्लीशन उनका हुआ, सुशासन की उन्होंने सरकार दी, और पुष्कर से जुड़ा है अजमेर। अजमेर हम सब जानते हैं सम्राट पृथ्वीराज चौहान की नगरी है, ऐतिहासिक नगरी है ये। तो यहाँ से एक बड़ा संदेश प्रधानमंत्री देना चाहते हैं कि अमृतकाल मना रहे हैं, और अमृतकाल की दहलीज पे खड़े होकर वो किस तरह से पूरी दुनिया को
Mr. Narendra Modi, he is right now in the temple of Brahma, Lord Brahma in Pushkar, and he is offering his prayers. And this is a very, very special moment because not many temples consecrated to Lord Brahma in India. This is one of the few. There we can see Prime Minister Modi, almost like a thanksgiving for 9 years of his prime ministership, offering prayers to one of the trinity of in Hinduism, Shiva and Vishnu being the other, and third being Brahma. There you can see Prime Minister Modi, outside the temple precincts. This temple is in Pushkar, which is also very, very popular for the cattle fair in Rajasthan, where you see annually lakhs and lakhs of cattle are bought. But right now what you see are visuals of the Brahma temple in Pushkar. Prime Minister Modi right there offering his prayers to Lord Brahma, one of the main trinities of Hinduism, and almost like a thanksgiving, and very, very important symbolically, because we all know that the Prime Minister is very, very particular about saying his thanks, particularly to the gods up there. So, there you see 9 years of his prime ministership, and he is offering his thanks and praying. Let me tell you that this temple is also known as Jagatpita Brahma Mandir, and it is of course in Pushkar, and it is very close to that lake in Pushkar, which is also considered extremely sacred by the devotees, and actually it is one of the few existing temples, like I said, dedicated to Brahma in India, and very, very prominent. It was built in 14th century and is made of marble and stone slab, and it also has a bird as a motif, which is Hamsa, Hans. We call it Hans in Hindi, but in Sanskrit it is Hamsa. If you look at the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Mr. Modi is now offering prayers, there is an image of a 4-headed Brahma, and of course his consort also called Gayatri, who is supposed to be the goddess of the Vedas. And what is very important, I recall very well, on Kartik Purnima there is a festival which is actually held in this temple after devotees bathe in the sacred lake of this temple. You will see this is the Brahma temple, and it has references also going back to the Padma Purana, and therefore is extremely sacred for all the Hindus. And like I said that it is one of the standing temples consecrated to Lord Brahma, one of the trinity of Hinduism.
हमारे साथ विशाल बैरिस्टो हमारे संवाददाता जुड़े हुए हैं। विशाल,
Mr. Narendra Modi offering his prayers at the sacred Brahma temple in Pushkar. Brahma temple is one of the most ancient temples consecrated to Lord Brahma. There you can see, after completing 9 years as Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi offering thanksgiving to Lord Brahma. This temple of course was built in the 14th century and is very, very ancient, and also the lake which is adjacent to the temple is considered to be extremely sacred. Legend has it that sage Vishwamitra, he, after Brahma did yagna, sage Vishwamitra built this temple, and of course our Hindu mythology is full of legends. It says that it's almost like Brahma, Lord Brahma himself chose this location for the building of the temple. And the Hindu philosopher, 8th century, someone who spoke about Advaita, one of the greatest saints ever, Adi Shankara, is supposed to have renovated this temple and seen to it that enough repairs were carried out. Pushkar, is a place which has the only Brahma temple in the world, and they say that there was a curse of Savitri, or rather Saraswati, and it is because of that Brahma has only one temple, and this is in Pushkar, existing temples as it were in Pushkar in Rajasthan. And therefore, Pushkar is supposed to be one of a very, very sacred place in Hindu mythology and also in Hindu religion, because Brahma being one of the trinity apart from Mahesh, that being Shiva and Vishnu. So, there you can see him, Prime Minister of this country, Narendra Modi, offering his prayers and almost like a thanksgiving for being the Prime Minister of this country. And I am sure that is not the only reason that he is completed 9 years as Prime Minister, but also generally one sees the Prime Minister visiting temples wherever he goes on tours. Today he is scheduled to address a huge rally in Pushkar, and of course there were doubts initially whether he would be able to go to this temple, but like I said, if this is the only temple in the world, the only existing temple consecrated to Lord Brahma in this world, then it was very obvious that Prime Minister Modi would pay his respects to this 14th century temple. Like I said, a huge festival comes up on Kartik Purnima every year. In this festival and the sacred lake of Pushkar, devotees go and first bathe there and then offer their prayers at the Sanctum Sanctorum, which shows you Lord Brahma, who is four-headed, along with his consort Gayatri. That is the temple in Pushkar. Those of you, those viewers who've just joined us, this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Brahma temple in Pushkar, a 14th century temple consecrated to Lord Brahma, the only temple, which is existing across the world, where you can see Lord Brahma, who's one of the trinity apart from Mahesh, that being Shiva and Vishnu. This is Brahma's temple, and also along with his consort Gayatri in Pushkar in Rajasthan. My colleague Pankaj Mishra is with me. Pankaj, a lot of people would look at it politically and say that it has been 9 years of his prime ministership and therefore he's gone to offer his thanks. But don't you think that Narendra Modi makes it a point to visit whatever the important temple is at any place? I mean, he's someone who's connected very, very closely with the temples.
Well, indeed, Sudha, and these visuals are, I would say, only the extension of what we have seen, talking strictly in terms of the 9 years of Modi government. Started with the Ganga Aarti, then the inauguration of Kashi Vishwanath corridor. That was something, the grandeur of the inauguration of that corridor is still fresh in the people's memory. The inauguration of Mahakaleshwar Mandir in Ujjain too, all those things, if we talk about, this is just, I would say, an extension, and again flanked by the seers and paying his obeisance to the deity in the temple in Pushkar. Obviously, Prime Minister Modi has hit the ground running when it comes to Rajasthan. Yes, there is a mega outreach that the BJP is embarking upon. and the Maha Jansampark Rally that Prime Minister Modi would be undertaking in a short while from now. What better way to begin with the blessings of the God, and many would still say, Sudha, that choosing Rajasthan as the starting point for this outreach, Maha Jansampark Yatra, obviously kills many birds with one stone. Remember, Rajasthan is also going to polls, and Prime Minister Modi, statistically speaking, has visited Rajasthan 6 times in the last 8 months. So that speaks volumes on how the focus of the BJP still remains on Rajasthan. The state is going to polls, and these visuals being beamed across the length and breadth of the country would definitely send out a message also, especially to the people and the electorate of Rajasthan, the kind of interest Prime Minister Modi has shown in the state.
Absolutely.
And obviously
and Pankaj, I just wanted to, for those who are watching these visuals, Pankaj, I just wanted to also share with all of you the legend. Look at it. I mean, after all, if you invite the wrath of a woman, this is what happens. And I'll tell you, apparently, Lord Brahma was conducting a yagna.
Right.
Okay, and his wife Savitri could not make it on time because she was busy elsewhere.
Okay.
So, as you well know, the mythology says that a married man cannot perform a yajna alone. You have to be with your wife.
Yeah.
So, he married a local Gurjar girl, a Gujar girl, Gayatri. She sat with him, and when that happened, that angered Savitri so much. So there was a feud. So look at it, Pankaj. I mean, you're a man, and I'm just telling you, you have to make your consort happy at all time, or else I guess that must be the legend why we have only this lone temple. I mean, I'm wondering if that could be the reason, that Savitri cursed him because she could not be there at the designated time, and because of apparently. She cursed Brahma. The wife cursed Brahma and said that you shall never be worshipped, But she said, okay, I'll give you one concession. Pushkar mein mandir ban jayega.
The only temple.
The only temple, Pankaj. And therefore, this is very, very important and significant, I guess, because, Brahma, much like the Trinity, they all stand for their individualistic qualities, as it were. And I think Brahma also stands for wisdom, Pankaj. Isn't that right?
Well, yeah, that's what I think BJP needs it the most as of now, which it has demonstrated also in the last 9 years. Many critics would say that it could be a political move too, but Sudha, I was talking to several political analysts during the course of the day when we were planning for the analysis of the achievements, the hits and the misses of Prime Minister Modi's government, 9 years in the governance. And they also came up with the fact that the timing and the speed with which this particular government plans its next strategies, both political, economical and other aspects, is something that is worthy taking note of. And yes, talking about time, the timing, the BJP hasn't missed it ever. And as far as this particular outreach is concerned, on the back of the completion of 9 years in the governance, obviously, this comes at an opportune moment. And yes, talking about the, arriving on time, I think the man on the screen, Prime Minister of the country, won't be late as far as the communion with the masses and at the rally in Ajmer is concerned.
Absolutely right. And you were speaking about, with several experts about 9 years of his prime ministership. And I think today in Rajasthan, all those 9 achievements, or rather schemes which are specifically designed and customized for Rajasthan will be showcased. I mean, the huge audience is supposed to be there in attendance, is what the Rajasthan BJP unit has been talking about. And the venue is going to be extremely, it's chosen very, very carefully. And they said that this is one time when Prime Minister Modi will be speaking about all the achievements of his government and how he has fulfilled most of it. And also, I guess, to kind of bolster and energize the local karyakartas in Rajasthan, Pankaj?
Yes, definitely. All of them need a shot in the arm because the incumbent Congress government very recently, Sudha, tried to patch up with, as far as the internal differences were concerned. We have seen Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and former Deputy Chief Minister Sachin Pilot going two different ways. Now, politically, obviously, it could be an opportunity for the opposition, which is in case the BJP is in this case. And for the BJP, yes, this is the time when they start building their ship, and when the time comes for a smooth sailing, obviously they will need more than just luck. They would need strategy also to beat Congress on their own turf in the upcoming elections. All these optics that we are seeing as of now, somewhere or the other invariably also point towards political galvanization that the BJP has to do. And as far as its grassroots cadres are concerned, definitely for them, the presence of the topmost leader of BJP, the Prime Minister of the country in their home state, is something that boosts their morale and also reinvigorates and reiterates their commitment towards the electorate as far as the cultural connect is concerned.
Pankaj, speaking about 9 years of Modi's prime ministership, let's watch, specifically what has been done in these 9 years.
India is home to 1/7 of the world population, and more importantly, it's the fastest growing economy. That too, fastest growing major economy of the world. It has several firsts to its credit, and quite a bit of it, rightly, with this particular government under Prime Minister Modi, is claiming that it has happened in the last 9 years.
He has given highest priority for development of infrastructure.
Creating the platforms, the infrastructure, the policies that allow for innovation, risk-taking and growth.
The entire infrastructure of welfareism has been an achievement.
That is why the people voted Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to power in 14 for deep decisive change.
So, on the completion of 9 years of this government, we look at the 9 transformational pillars, what the Modi government would like to call the transformational Navaratnas of this particular government. Look, India has always been a story of resilience. We have braved many challenges. But it's interesting to look at last 9 years, how they have shaped up. The financial inclusion, banking the unbanked, and creating a new paradigm through the JAM Trinity, leading up to the UPI, which is world's one major talking story about digital ecosystem, formalizing the economy. And then finally, when the crisis happened, when Russia-Ukraine crisis erupted, it is impacting the world even today. But India is by and large insulated. When we renegotiated with Russia and brought about a new paradigm in the oil economy, much to the benefit of the Indian citizen.
Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi!
One of the things that stands out with the manner in which PM Modi has engaged with world leaders is not just the regular diplomacy, but this personal connect. For example, he took the late Shinzo Abe to Varanasi to do the Ganga Aarti, for example. You had President Obama doing a Man Ki Baat with Prime Minister Modi.
I think by and large Mr. Modi has represented India well, both in international forums, and has managed to keep India's image as an important player on the global scene intact.
India is a country seen by many as an objective friend, and I think it's got the opportunity now to lead the global south in a way that's never been true before. The real challenge today is how you make sense of this shifting geopolitics, and in that, I think the position of India is absolutely critical.
See, what's happening is that, India has really created a mark in the diplomatic arena, in the global affairs. Back home, it's been matched by as much enthusiasm in the last 9 years. What has happened is that there's been massive reforms in GST, what we call indirect tax reforms.
We are in the process of making history with the launch of the goods and services tax.
And matching with this is the other banking reform, where we cleaned banks of much of their, what we call stressed assets, the NPAs. So these two reforms really have shaped up the larger economic durability of this particular country at a time when the world is really facing a lot of challenges, inflationary, recession, lack of consumption, and also monetary challenges.
Major thing I would say is to put in place a large number of framework structural reforms. So these are the frameworks that allow the economy to sort of function at a higher level of performance on the supply side.
From 2014 to 2022, the journey has been significantly transformational. And if you take a report card and compare 14 with 2022, you'll see that we were importing 82% with zero exports, and now we are importing 100% assembled in India. And we are exporting almost 12 to 14 billion dollars of Apple phones and Samsung phones and other phones out of India. So that has given us a tremendous confidence at a time. The global supply chains post-COVID, this, are changing decisively, are being redrawn. And for the first time in the history of independent India, India finds itself as an alternative, as a significant growing presence in this electronics value chain.
The economic model of this government is clear. It is based on two things. One is, on one side, creating the platforms, the infrastructure, the policies that allow for innovation, risk-taking and growth. So that is the driving force. At the same time, we appreciate that there is a segment of our society that will not benefit from all this growth unless given a helping hand. There are occasions where people slip. They may not be in the poorest section, but they can slip. So you need to create some sort of a safety net. So basically, let's make sure they have electricity, let's make sure they have cooking gas, let's make sure they at least have toilet, they have tap water. That creates the environment in which these men and women have a fair chance to participate in the wider world.
The entire infrastructure of welfare, given the level of poverty in this country, has benefited the poor.
Now, how has this transformation come about? People keep asking, what are the key tenets? There are two connected tenets. One is the physical infrastructure, the other is the digital infrastructure. We briefly talked about the digital infrastructure, which in itself is a massive change that has occurred in the Indian ecosystem. The physical infrastructure is being talked about globally. The pace and the fervence with which India has built its highways, roads, and the entire infrastructure is leading to a multiplier effect in the economy. And when it comes to the digital infrastructure, we all know about the Jam Trinity, we also know about the UPI story, we know about the entire formalization of the economy, which, rightly or wrongly also happened because of, demonetization. Yes, agriculture by and large has done well. This particular government has been blessed with a happy monsoon all these years by and large, but it would have been a great opportunity if this particular government had actually brought about the farm reforms which it unleashed. We hope that, whichever government comes next, they would undertake the critical role of bringing about farm reforms.
Under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji, he has given highest priority for development of infrastructure in the country. We are making roads of 3 lakh crore in Northeast and Assam. So we are developing every region of India. And I feel that this infrastructure is to be very useful for accelerating socio-economic transformation of that area.
The spectrum of development, especially the physical development, which I meant, when we talked about the road infrastructure, this was not limited to what we call the elitist club. It really spread out to Northeast, and that brought about a new currency of hope and growth in that region. But that region has some inherent problems, which got reimagined, remanifested, unfortunately, in the violence that we have seen in Manipur. So, we need to be extremely conscious and cognizant of the northeastern region, while as development in terms of the economic development and the physical infrastructure development is obviously a welcome, but when it comes to bringing about the larger issue of peace and tranquility between various identities in that region, that needs an addressal, for durability.
The thing is that they have pursued a policy where they have said, I will not tolerate terrorism. I will tolerate dissent because that is part of democracy. I can tolerate different opinions and political views, but there is a red line which I draw, and that is with regard to anyone who decides to pick up a gun against the state. So that signal went through from day one. Today, again, 4-5 years, or rather from 19 to now, 4 years, after 370 has been abolished, the transformation in the situation in the Jammu and Kashmir, both in the valley and in Jammu, is extraordinary.
Every country needs to be self-reliant not only in the defense sector, but for comprehensive national security, you need to be reliant in many sectors. See, today you have two identified adversaries as China and Pakistan. What is the future? Nobody knows. Do countries plan only for the immediate future? No. We need to look at any possible adversary in any domain, whether identified or a potential adversary who may spring up because the situation changes. Then we should be capable enough of protecting our sovereignty and our own interests.
We have just concluded the G20 meeting in Srinagar, which has made a global statement in terms of where we are around Srinagar and how we've been able to fashion Kashmir as a growth identity for us. But going back to the Article 370 abrogation, you remember that soon after the COVID virus happened, and that really had the potential to unsettle many developed countries, and we are a developing country. So circumventing that opposition and staying the course and building a domestic vaccine, but it did show courage, and today rightly, India is being seen as not only the vaccine leader in the world, it is also being positioned as the pharmacy of the world.
India realized that we will have to make our own vaccine, we cannot rely on vaccine from outside. And that helped us to start very early in making our own indigenous vaccine. And now we have more than 5 or 7 vaccines available in our country. Along with that, there has to be a whole process. Manufacturing is one thing. How do you distribute these vaccines to the entire country? And we have a huge country with different terrains. Along with that, syringes, needles, maintaining the cold chain, storage facilities, then seeing that supply chain is maintained so that if there's shortage of or increased demand in one area, more vaccines are rushed to that area as compared to some other area.
India has traversed the journey of growth all these years, and since 2009 till now, which is, we have recovered, we have so to say uplifted 41 crore people from the lines of poverty. So that's a significant achievement. We will also have to look at reimagining the social welfare template that Mr. Modi brought about. And earlier, there are two sets of templates. One is entitlement, one is empowerment. Mr. Modi, under his government, there is a view that it's empowerment, while as under the UPA it was entitlement. So I think there is need to look at the merits of both as we go forward, because we'll have to bring about a paradigm change and be at it for the next 5 years to make India truly the $5 trillion economy.
The world is an uncertain place, but I think we are reasonably in position that by around about 2028 or thereabouts, we will probably become the world's 3rd largest economy.
I think that for a party which had an absolute majority, the degree of economic reform leaves still much to be desired. The world is looking at India, and the degree of economic reform that could have been achieved by a government with an absolute majority, I think, remains an unfinished agenda.
I think the ambitions for India are to be a very significant player, up to 7 to 10% of share on the global supply chains of electronics by 26, and we are on our way to get there. We are today $12-14 billion of exports in the current year. We are at $75–80 billion of manufacturing, and by 2026 we expect to be $120 billion of exports. So 10x almost exports between now and 26-27, and almost 4 times more in terms of sales.
I feel that the politics of 21st century is the politics of progress and development. So that's the reason that now India has a reputation in the world now. So the way in which our economy is developing, we are the fastest growing economy in the world. And the credit goes to the leadership of Modi ji and our government. And for that reason, I feel that the people will support us with our work. At 100%, we are going to win the election. And again, we will get the power. And we will make India Atmanirbhar Bharat, super economic power, and #1 economy in the world. That is to be dream of all of us.